Hello again. Today we've been working on this little Fender Blues Junior. These are a very popular little amplifier. I've had a lot of them in the shop over the years. They've been through a lot of design changes over the years. There is still a few things that need to be actually wrung out properly on them. I have a colorful history of these amplifiers. When they first came out years ago, I contacted a service tech at the factory to ask him about the problems where we had an extreme screen current going on in the amplifiers. They were biased too hot. They were actually pushed into class A. They had no headroom and a few other things, and they actually would come in here where they'd been on fire. I was pretty much told when I started pressing the tech for specifications of why they did things, I was told to not worry too much about this little amplifier. Somebody's grandmother had already paid for it from Guitar Center. So that being said, I set upon a mission to actually correct the problems, which brought about this little mod sheet, as we refer to as Smokeless Fender Blues Junior mod, that I did way back when. So most of these amps that come in the shop get this mod. But what I wanted to point out on this particular amplifier, this brought up something that I have not seen before. Kind of strange, so I wanted to show it to you. People are told so much anymore that, especially with preset biases on amplifiers, that they do not need to rebias an amplifier or have the bias checked. You can just plug and play. So people consistently buy tubes online, not knowing what they're getting, and they're at the mercy of what they have. This is one of the reasons I'm a firm believer in knowing how to check tubes, knowing how to check your bias, knowing how to check how things run properly. When this amplifier come in, the customer had told me that he'd bought a new set of tubes for it, put in it. It ran for a little while, started cracking and popping, making funny noises, and then it quit working. Well, it had taken a fuse out, and along with the typical obligatory bad solder joints that you have on the tube sockets and so on with these, I found another issue. His tubes had been in the amplifier in this order. Okay, so the one that was the darkest was on the left, the other one was on the right. Okay, see how the paint's turned really dark on the one? That's the one that failed. So we're going to lay those down there in that order. Here's what I found. I'm going to let this amp warm up a minute, and we're going to show you what's going on here with the biasing. Matched tubes are supposed to run within 5 mils of each other maximum. Okay, so what we have here on this one, this amp's actually running a little cold right now because I'm still in the process of working on it. We still actually have to put the new tubes in it and set the bias. So we've got 17 mils on the one on the right. Okay, we have 34 mils over double, okay, on the left. Now earlier, while I was working on this process of checking this amp out, I swapped tubes from side to side. Problem stayed in the same socket, didn't move. I looked for leaky coupling caps, I looked for this, I looked for that, did the typical run through. Okay, so what I'm going to show you is this. Here we have 35 mils, right? You pull the phase inverter tube, we're down to 18. We've also got 19 on this one. Okay. So let's put in a different phase inverter tube. Let it come up. Let's check again. We have 16 on this side. We have 15 on this side. There is something wrong with this tube. I'm not going to spend the time to figure out exactly what it is, although I'm really curious. I might do it at some other point to figure out what's going on. It's not that JJs are bad tubes. This one just has something going on in one stage. I also found it really curious that if you move this tube to a preamp stage where it's not in a balanced circuit, it's fine. So there's something off on one side a little bit, throwing the amp off. I figure that is probably why this tube became toast. Like I said, it did have some bad solder joints and so on, but this little culprit right here could not have helped the situation any. So this guy had no way of measuring anything to see what was going on. This is why I always say, and I see this time and time again, where guys will have a problem with their amplifier. They'll buy an entire set of tubes offline for it. They may have a preamp problem, may have a power amp problem, may have a rectifier tube problem, whatever, but they'll buy an entire set of tubes for it, plug them in, and it may not even fix the original problem, but also make another problem for you. So, word up, guys. I tell everybody all the time, chances are very good that I could probably even figure out what's wrong with the amp and fix the amp for less than you paid for the tubes. So in this guy's case, he has to put another set of output tubes in it, plus fix a problem with the amplifier, plus replace the one preamp tube. So pretty much all the money he spent on tubes, he flushed. So I'm going to get on with this amplifier. I still have a couple other things to do to it. Need to put the new tubes in and get it biased. One of the things I'll also do on these amplifiers is make a aluminum bracket to hold the tubes in, because this thing actually causes part of the problems. The way it's designed, it actually pulls the tubes sideways and encourages them to rock out of the sockets. So we're going to fix that up too. So I'll get back to you later and show you what the rest of this looks like. But for the time being, I want to let you have a heads up on what's going on with this tube thing. Well, we're back with a follow-up on our Blues Junior repair. At this point, the amplifier is finished. We have replaced the input jack, repaired the solder joints on the circuit boards, took care of a lot of bad solder joints up here on the pots, cleaned the pots, did my mods. One of the mods that I do involves reducing the screen current, which is a resistor right here. Once that is done, it drops the tubes down to where they should actually be. They're a lot happier. That being said, something else I wanted to mention is earlier when I was showing you readings on the tubes and I said they was a little bit low bias wise, I was using a set of bench test tubes that I use, that I know what the current draw is on, I know how they work, so there's no questions with tubes. When I get the amp repaired, I always put in a fresh set of tubes and bias up to match them. So the low readings that I showed you earlier was after this resistor had been changed to drop the current for the screens. Actually, when I plugged this amplifier in first time to test it out, after repairing the solder joints here on the board, I found out that the tube on the left had actually been drawing 57 milliamps at idle without any signal. The one on the right was drawing about 32 milliamps. That is definitely why he was losing his left tube. I have found that with my mod that I do, that when you drop the screen current properly, in a lot of cases you don't even have to rebias the amplifier if you use a set of EL84s with a plate current rating of between 24 and 28. A lot of times the amp will come out fine without having to have the biasing tweaked any on over here. You don't have to change the circuit at all. That was the case with this amp. Once everything was taken care of, it biased right up at 22 mils a piece with the new set of tubes. That was the number 27 PC. So they fell right in where it needed to be without having to do anything else to the bias circuit. So that's a win-win. Also point out to you, here is our new Guitar C.P.R. approved tube retainer. It's simply a piece of aluminum bent to fit. We've got a couple shock mounts up here where it's screwed into the chassis, and a couple O-rings down here. You will not knock these tubes out. So here we are. Everything's all taken care of. The amp is done. I'm going to run it for the rest of the day and tomorrow, make sure nothing pops up. I'm going to button it up, and this weekend I'll let the owner have it back. So thanks for watching. Until next time, be nice to others, play nice with others, and I'll see you later.